I thought I'd make a video on this linkage program that I use sometimes. It's a program written by David Rector. I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel and a link to where you can download the software. It's free. I used it when I was starting out on the DieselPunk robot or robot toy it just released. I did some of the initial experimenting with this just to see where I was going with it. I'll get into the program right now. When you start the program up, this is what it looks like. You have a little anchor in the middle. We're going to delete that. We'll start anew. I'm going to come up here to details, edit grid. I want a 5mm by 5mm grid. That's just what I use. Makes it visually able to tell what's going on. Right now it's set on automatic grid. Select these grid settings to use the 5mm by 5mm. Now we're going to make a walking mechanism for the claw walker that was the basis of a DieselPunk robot. To do that we're going to need 3 gears. So to bring in a gear, you right click on this screen and you get this little box. Some of these are drawing elements down here and others are mechanical elements, links and like 4-bar mechanisms and gears. Here are the gears right here. So we're going to click on that, bring in a gear. Right now, if we hit run, it doesn't do anything. So we're going to click on this center part, hit anchor, and right click, go to properties. We're going to make this a rotating anchor with the default settings of 15 RPM clockwise. You can change those later. Now we have a gear that should rotate. We hit run up here and it's rotating. I want to just initially start by I want the gear to be approximately 20mm. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see if we can't resize it. We have to wait till we bring another gear in to do that. Bring in another gear. This time, this right click on the center point there, properties. This one will just be an anchor. As you can see, it puts this little anchor in here. Still not going to do anything. This one rotates, but this one doesn't. We have to tie these gears together. To do that, select the outside of this gear or either in either order. Hold down the shift key. Select the outside of the other gear. Now go up here to the align menu and you'll have a ratio. We're just going to use the 1-to-1 ratio. And as you can see, that brought those 2 gears together. See how big are they now? 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the things about this program, it tends to want to resize things by itself sometimes. I want to make them both about 20mm because that's what they were in the original robot. That's close. You can measure the distance between them by clicking that, hitting shift, clicking that, and up here is the distance between them. Well, it was exactly 20mm. Got lucky. Okay. We need one more gear. Let's move this over. I was just a scroll key held down and to pan. Right click, bring in another gear. Left click on the center of a gear, right click to bring up the properties. Make this an anchor also. We want to put it, here's the rotating one, so we want to put this one over here on the other side. We're going to select this gear, shift, select this gear, align, ratio, 1-to-1 again. Fortunately, it didn't resize everything. We can now all these gears should be connected together. We can test it by hitting run. We see our 2 outside gears are going in the same direction, opposite the inside gear. So that's good. Now, we want to make sure these are all aligned horizontally. So shift, or click, shift, click, shift, and with the shift key still hang down. We selected all 3 of them. We'll go to align, horizontal. Now they should all be in a line. We can check how far these are apart now by selecting both of them. They're 40mm apart, which is correct, I believe. Now I don't want these to move, so I'm going to click on the center and hit lock, click on the center and hit lock, click on the center and hit lock. Now I'm going to click on the outside and lock it down. I'm not sure if you just click on the outside first if that'll lock it or not. Maybe it does. Hopefully now none of our parts will move. Well, the center wasn't locked. So, like I say, it's one of the things about this program is when you're aligning things, it'll move things around on you. It's not really a complaint, it's just the way it works. So now we need a link up here to make this a crank mechanism. So click on the anchor, come out here into space, right click, bring in that link. Whoops. I want to drag it over. Now I need this link to be, this point to be vertical with this point. To do that, well, first of all, let's set the link by selecting the whole link, going up here in dimension, and hitting 6. So I want them to be 6 millimeters. Now I'm going to select those two endpoints. Go to Align, Vertical. We can see it's still 6 millimeters. I select it again and hit the lock. Now, this, if I hit Run, this little link here is not connected to this gear. It's just flopping around in the breeze. So I want to connect it to this gear. So I click on it to select it, hit Shift, click on the outside gear. Now we're going to fasten the two together. Now if I hit Run, it should go around with it, and it does. Now we need to make one of these little links for this one over here. Click the center, right click, bring up the link. We're going to do the same process as before. We're going to click here. It's already 6 millimeters because it kind of auto aligned with this one over here, which is good. Now I'm going to check and make sure we're vertical by selecting the two endpoints. Hit Align, Vertical. I select it again. It's 6 millimeters. It's vertical. We're going to lock that in place. Now we need to tie it to the gear. So we select it, hit Shift, select the gear, and go to Fasten. Now hopefully it'll run. Yes, we have our two crank mechanisms driven by our motor with a gear on it. Now I'm going to connect these 2 points together. I'm going to just do this out in space. I'm going to right click, make a 2-bar link, select that end, Shift, select this end, and hit Join. Do the same thing for the other end. We'll select both these points and hit Join. Now if I hit Run, we can see they're connected together. Now if these links right here were different links, or one of them was at an angle, it would bind as it would in real life. But since everything is synced up, it'll work. So we have that bar selected. We need a bar coming down here to where which would drive our foot. So let's click on that and just hit Add, and it'll put a link right there. I think it puts it in the middle. And we're going to select that link, come out here into space, right click, and we're going to add a link to that. We'll bring that down. Let's make this, I can't remember what I used on the real toy. Let's select this and see how long it is. Let's make it 50. As you can see, what I was talking about, it moving things, it moved this point and not the end point. So let's move that back down. Let's see. Well, it's still made it. It's still 50 though, so we got lucky there. This can be kind of an annoyance the way it moves things around on you. But now, if we try to run this bar is just, this end is just flopping around. This end is tied to something, so it's not going to work. So we want to combine this bar and this bar into one piece. So we select that, hit Shift, select this one, and go up here and combine. Now we have this bar with these 3 points on it, and it should run. Now, one of the interesting things or handy things about this program, if we select this point, right click, properties, we can draw a motion path. This is very handy. Now when it runs, we can see the exact outline that this is tracing, which is a circle, which makes sense when you think about what's going on up here. In other mechanisms, it's very hard to predict what this will be, though. So that's good. Now let's call this. This is about where I was when I started with the basic mechanism for the little DieselPunk robot. When I decided out, well, I'm going to try putting some links in here just to see what happens. So let's add. Let's select this. Go up here and add. And it'll put this little connector right here. Let's bring it down about here. With it selected, we'll right click, bring in another link. Whoops. Not what I wanted to do. You can hit Control Z. Not sure why it did that. We'll just select this in and drag it up here somewhere. And we want to make a slide thing, like if there was a screw here and this little link had an elongated slot in it, it would slide along this screw. To do that, we come out here into free space, right click, and we bring in an anchor. We're going to bring that up about here. With it selected, hold the shift key and select this other link we just did, and come up here, and there is a slide option. So that's a slide now. We'll probably have to extend it. Well, I'll leave it just to show you what it does. So we hit run, and eventually it collides there. But it is working, so we just have to drag that out. We can move it around. This end's really not critical for experimenting. You can see we have this link here. This is basically what the toy was designed around. We can do some other things. Let's say we select this, properties. We'll draw it as a solid. Now it's got like a little outline around it. We'll do the same thing here. Select, right click, solid. It's more like what we're actually going to build. Although this wouldn't look like this, it would have a shape. The shape I drew was like come over here and then down here and then back here. But all the points are there. Let's make a foot for it. Well, first of all, let's select this. Let's lock it just so nothing moves. Let's make a foot for it. If we right click out here in space, we have these elements down here that are drawing elements. So let's pick a polygon over here. This is just going to be a rough drawing. Let's draw something that looks like a foot for a claw walker. Good enough. Now we have a drawing here, and if we hit run, it's just sitting in the same place. Not really what we want. We want to connect this drawing to this. To do that is easy. We just select it, hold down the shift, select this piece, and go up here, say fasten. Now when we hit run, our little drawing will move around with our links. This is basically what I would just like to bring things in here and experiment with them, especially if it's something I haven't built before, just to see if my logic is right. And then you get in here and you start just, well, what if I do this and what if I do that? It's basically just a lot of fun. I think I'll end the video here so it doesn't get too long. If anybody finds this useful, why don't they comment and tell me? I might do some more on this. I've been using the program on and off for years. I kind of like it. It's a lot of fun to play with. Well, I don't kind of like it. I like it. I believe it's man who wrote it is a one-man show, so It's pretty impressive if you ask me. There's another program that does this called Motion Gen. It's a web-based program. You have to sign up with your email address, but it is free. I've just started playing with that, but I think this is probably more versatile, to tell you the truth. Well, I'm going to call it quits on the video, so thanks for watching.